Amigos, welcome back to the Football Amigos show. It's your boy Mide. As always, we are back. Yes, I have missed you all so much, but we're back. The three amigos are all back. If you can see me pointing at them right there, amigos, welcome back to the Football Amigos show. We are bringing you our game 37 reactions after an action-packed field and Premier League weekend. Of course, some games were played on Friday. Don't really want to talk about it, but we will have to because it's the Ficola Vigo show. Of course, being United, that's why I don't want to talk about it. But hey, that's why we're here. But before we start, of course, let's welcome our amigos. Of course, amigo Sam. Congratulations on winning the title. How are you today, sir?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Happy to see you guys.
Of course you are. Aren't you happy? All right. I'm a little sore. If you can't tell, amigos, I'm a little sore, but it's all good. It's all good. Amigo Ayo, how about you today?
I'm doing well, guys. Sorry, I forgot my mute. I'm happy to be here, happy to discuss soccer. And as long as the ire is not on me today, Arsenal are doing well, so I'm happy to be here. Any other weekend, good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Amigos, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. Thank you so much for being here. Let's jump right into it. It was an interesting weekend as a penultimate weekend before the final season, game 38. From a Premier League standpoint, I know it's coming to an end, but hey, there's still some great summer fixtures coming, not just from the FIFA Club World Cup to, of course, the fun. It's like second Christmas period of the year where its transfer window is open twice. Can you imagine? Transfer window is going to be open twice this year, and of course, we have some interesting friendlies and just seeing the different clubs and who they buy as they prepare for next season. Of course, this week will be a very interesting week to see where certain teams place if they're going to be in Europe or not, i.e., Manchester United here. But we'll jump into right into that. United played Chelsea on Friday. It was a Friday night game, and we lost 1-0. It was one of those games where we actually really played well for the first 35 minutes. We scored, but it was an offside call, which was accurate. And right after that goal, Maguire scored it, but it was disallowed. Right after that goal, something turned on with Chelsea. They decided to control the game, decided to have more chances. United decided to sit back a little more, which I wasn't really used to watching that. Halftime came, second half. We started to push a little bit. We missed a lot of chances again. We just cannot score. We just cannot score. Like, that's the bottom line. And then lo and behold, Reece James with a wonderful pirouette turn to deceive deceive Garnacho, and wonderful cross over to Cucurella, and he finishes with a header, and that's the end of the game. That's been our season in a nutshell. And I'd love to hear from the amigos, starting with Sam. It's just been a bad season. It really has for United. The only light hope we have right now is winning the Europa Cup against Tottenham. What are your thoughts about United from a season standpoint, Sam?
I'll say this, man. Not just United. Whoever wins the um, Europa League will be undeserving to be in Champions League.
And you know what?
Respectfully,
I agree with that.
yeah. But kudos to Man United, though. I have to say kudos to Maguire as well, stepping up despite all of his challenges. But for some, I don't know what the solution would be. They definitely need a striker. Oiland is just no, it's just not fitting. It's not fitting right now. I don't know if it's lack of confidence. It's just not. It's never in the right place. So the game against Chelsea, you're right. Chelsea turned it up. Chelsea deserved to win the game. But this is a fantastic header from Cucurella, always running around the field, always up front. But the United needs to change. They have to go in and just do a lot of soul searching. If players like Fernandez accept any offer somewhere else, Ahmad is back. We're thankful for that. If it happens to get another offer somewhere else, United is done. United is done. They can't go into next season without changing. But unfortunately, they don't have the capacity to change up to 6, 7 players right now. So I don't know. I don't see the bright light here. In as much that it's just not 37 games and they have like 35 points in it or 30 something. It's just not a good ratio. It's just not a good ratio. So I think Amaran is doing good. He's speaking correctly. He's pushing a little bit. He's becoming a little more positive, but you need more than positivity. You need some players to be told the truth, some players to be shown the door if you really want to start competing. And I'm not saying competing for top four, but competing for top eight.
You mentioned about the table and amigos. I just pulled up the table and just the sheer sadness that I just saw just watching that table and where we are. At least we're above Tottenham. I'll give you that. But it's that's just the state of that's just the dire state of affairs that United
Don't
find themselves
see
this season.
Tottenham as your standard. I know Ayo will be like Tottenham should be relegated as the rival, but don't compare yourself
I
with
know,
Tottenham.
right?
Come on, compare yourself with clubs like Liverpool, like because Tottenham, right, they haven't won
Oh
anything
no.
that will make you want to compare. But I get what you're saying. But to be, Premier League has changed a lot. Today I was watching some highlights and I was looking at players like even Gibbs White, players like I was looking at Nottingham Forest in general. Those guys,
Yeah, they
yeah,
played Leicester.
it's just you can't show up and think you will just come and crush the other team. Everybody's ready for you. Crystal Palace won a title over Man City, and the goal
Yeah,
was
the FA
scored in the
Cup.
first half. The whole Man City cannot get back on. Tells you how this league is and how the clubs in this league comes. But go back to your point, though. Tottenham and United.
No, it's just how, like you mentioned, Sam, you couldn't be more right. How the Premier League landscape has changed in terms of these teams that we never thought could have a statement to say they're winning trophies over teams that we are so used to them winning trophies over the past 10, 15 years. You could see now that just because you're a big name doesn't mean you're a strong club. You have to actually have the players, the formation, the style, the execution, the results, the coaching, the facilities. There's so much more to the game now that is, and your ability to adapt to the team in front of you. That's another key thing as well. I think Man City has found it difficult to change how their style of play because they've been so reliant on Haaland, and when he's not there, they find it difficult to get results. And it's going to be a test to Pep Guardiola to see how he changes that. But coming back to Chelsea and United, Ayo, how would you classify Chelsea's season in a nutshell?
Growing pains. That's just how we describe everybody, really. Um, we find ourselves in a completely different climate where I think the competitive levels in the Premier League have just become stratospheric. I was actually thinking the other day, and I was like, I think it's going to be hard for an English team to win the Champions League in the near future. And I say this is that by the time it gets to the knockout stages, each one has every Englishman has punched each other's out. They've knocked each other out. They've taken all the energy about. They all have injuries. They're just like because they're just you're fighting to survive. And you go in there and you go into Champions League and you're depleted. And I was thinking about it. I was like, at this level of competitiveness is unlike something we've ever seen before. And so what that means is any chink in your armor, any gap in your plating, any fissure in your structure, it will get ruthlessly exploited. There's no style of play that won't get sussed out within the season itself. There is no poor player that won't be like ruthlessly targeted. And so that's all you're seeing, where it's like, you make that one mistake, you make that one misplaced pass, you lapse in concentration for that second, and pretty much every team from first to 15th will punish you for it. And so that's where we are now. I mean, like, can you imagine the 66 points, the 65 points of like the top 7 teams right now? Could you imagine that a team like Crystal Palace is sitting in 12th? Can you imagine that even Wolves, who have had a wonderful resurgence, are sitting that low? I think they're about 15th or 14th in the Premier League. Like, it's a crazy league. Like, we can tell, you can see why the teams that got promoted last season went out straight away. Like, the teams that are probably going to get promoted this time around are going to go like straight back out. It's You can't really think about it too hard. You just have to know that your A game needs to be championship level if you're going to survive. Like, Arsenal played Newcastle, we can go and see that. And Newcastle, they played like champions, and that's a team that might not even be in the top three by the end of the season. And like, that's a team that's just like there, not in the Champions League this season. Did they make it to the Champions League this last season?
Newcastle?
Yeah, I don't think it made it last season
No,
into
not
Champions
last
League.
season. It
Yeah,
was
Not last season. No, no, not last
ho-
season.
ho-
But this season they will.
hopefully. I mean, we don't know
I think they
if they
will.
will. Like, it's possible, but worse things have happened. They've lost Isak. I don't think he's going to come back for the next game. So there's a challenge. Like, Aston Villa is might not make the Champions League. Nottingham Forest have a great season, so it's hard. Chelsea are doing what they should be doing, but it's hard. It's if your players are not fit, if Lavia can't play enough games, if Reece James can't play enough games, if Caicedo can't play enough games, it's going to be ruthlessly exploited. If Manchester United can't field a consistently fit 11, every little chop and change is going to get ruthlessly exploited. So that's just the nature of the game now, and you can't, like, I can't even say anything. It's like, because I think Manchester United have been playing well, and they're where they are. Um, the last few things that might not be in place, but anytime they lapse, if you don't score the goals, anytime you lapse, every team will beat you. It's it's challenging. I'm terrified for next season. If I'm being honest, yeah, but we'll see.
It's interesting you mentioned it's very difficult for different styles of play to even survive in the Premier League because over the next 5 to 10 games you're found out, and then teams can easily adjust because they do their homework. There's technology now, there's game analysis, there's an actual team, technical team that actually watch these games, report back to the coach reports back to the players, and they come up with a game plan to nullify that and take it a step further to eventually make the game turn around in their favor. Which brings me to my next point. Of course, Amigos, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts about first game versus United. Moving into Arsenal, Ayo, you mentioned it's becoming difficult for certain systems to survive long term because they easily found out. Why has Arsenal stood out this season with their style of play to the point that Ayo, every time I see Arsenal, I just think they're gonna win that. They're gonna win that. They're gonna win that. They're gonna win that. How have they created this environment where they can just easily win games?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as say easily win games. I think
I sorry. Not easily
um,
win games. I take that back. But the games they need to win, they win. Even though that's a 1 goal margin or 2 goal margin, they find a way to win.
yeah. Are we going to segue into the Newcastle game? And so, can I start talking about that? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect segue. Right.
Um.
Declan Rice with a wonderful goal from a Gordon mistake. Unfortunate, but you got to capitalize on
Yeah.
it.
It was a well worked play, even though even from how they press Gordon, how he turned into traffic, dispossessed, intelligent vision and pass from Odegaard. Something we've been missing this season. I just want to say that it really is all about the intangibles at this point in the game. That's why I'm actually quite surprised Chelsea are this high because they were one of the teams that I pegged at the beginning of the season to be low on those, like the mentality part, the togetherness part, the ability to suffer. Arteta is something he's just said it a lot, but you start to hear this a lot more. PSG's coach whenever the videos like he was talking about the ability to suffer and how just that is just the way it is because you cannot guarantee yourself to dominate 90 minutes in a game anymore. You can only count on moments, you can only count on phases, and for long periods of this time, you're on the back foot, you're under pressure, and it takes a good coaching to begin with, but good togetherness, good understanding, and good desire to not crumble and fall. Because a lot of times is whether or not if you're being put on pressure, you fold, or you just ride it, and then once you get a breather, you go again. And so we've gone the season where we've had so much challenge, and I don't think we've conceded more than 2 goals. I don't think so, right? Since probably since I'm not even sure we have this season. Maybe we have. Have we?
Sorry, it might have been Bournemouth.
Bon, yeah, you're right. Yeah, but like I didn't think we conceded we lost conceded 2 goals. I think
You didn't lose. You,
no, we
I
lost.
think it was
Oh,
two,
we
but
lost
or
two
was it
now.
Everton? Or was it
No,
Everton? Yeah,
not three
and then
goals.
Everton as
Yeah, not
well.
3 goals. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's all 1 and 2. So I think 2 is the maximum we've conceded. But it's just built on defensive structure, the willingness of the wingers to back up their wing backs, the ability of the team to stay organized, like things that like are not very sexy, be able to do those things like well, the things that just allow you because what's the word? Offense wins you games, defense wins you championships, and being able to be solid and being able to absorb pressure kind of keeps you going. And so I think we've done that part well. The next part of our game is you need goals to win games. We got to win games by putting away chances, and we did that today. Newcastle were, I think, the better team on the day, especially in the first opening period, the 45 period. We were lucky to go into that halftime nil-nil, similar to the Liverpool game. Actually, we went down 2-0, but we're lucky to just be 2-0 down. And somehow they found a character. They created like a period where they could exert pressure. And when you have players, big game players like Declan Rice, we're able to capitalize on one of those moments. We weren't able to create things that were clear cut after that, but we held. I think we scored the goal in the 50th minute. I don't know if I'm not looking at the game. And then for the next
It was a 52nd
52nd
minute.
minute, yeah. And then for the next 40 minutes, next 35 to 40 minutes, we held them at bay. And it wasn't for a lack of effort on their part. And I feel like that speaks well to the character of the team. I love this team. I love the players. However, I don't know what they need. I know they need something different to what they've shown this season. I personally don't know. Like everyone keeps saying is a striker, but I think it matters more in how we control games, how we control the tempo, and that's why I think Zubimendi was one of the first things they tried to decide. And when he comes in, I think you're going to see a very different Arsenal that can actually have an answer to teams that press very high and have a lot of physicality. Teams like Bournemouth, teams like Crystal Palace, teams like Newcastle, and we haven't answered to those kind of teams. But I'm proud of them. They needed to show that they could get into the Champions League, and they did. And we're going to that last game, with the second place all but assured in Champions League place. Given how bad the season is, I'm happy.
Mhm. Sam, I have a question for you before we move on to Liverpool. I personally thought Raya had one of his best games against Newcastle. I thought he really showed why they bought him over um, the Leno and
Southampton
what's
guy.
the gentleman's name?
Uh,
What's the other goalkeeper's name? I forget his name in
Ramsdale.
Southampton. Ramsdale. I see why they replaced both of those goalkeepers with David Raya. Ayo, from your perspective, how important has Raya been to Arsenal's performances this season?
Very impressive. I'm pretty impressed with him. I can count at least 3 or 4 occasions where he saved the ball and he's getting up to save the second ball. Very, very sharp goalkeeper. I was watching the interview of him, I think it was 3 or 4 days ago now. And the way it was talking, I think it was Gary Neville now. the way he communicates his efforts and his preparation, you can tell that he wants to improve. And he mentioned something which I think the defense, the Arsenal's defense, are covered him up pretty well in terms of one on one. We've not seen so much of that, but I think that's the area it could improve on. But in terms of being sharp, being quick, very, very, very solid goalkeeper, man. Um, you would think a goalkeeper of his height would not be as great, but he's quick, man. That's the only thing I can say. But in terms of one on one, we haven't seen much of him because of the defensive work that he's been. They're holding the defense pretty well, but I think he can improve on that. Yeah,
Are your thoughts on David Raya and how key he's been this season?
Um, for me, David Raya gives and he takes. No player is perfect. Everybody has pros and cons. You said something very important is that we don't allow a lot of one-to-one opportunities. Well, we do find ourselves being put against a lot of crosses and a lot of aerial attempts, so headers and different things. And those are places where he really, really thrives. He commands his box very, very well. He's very good in the air, and his reactions are pretty awesome. I will say that a lot of the pressure that we face in the first half of that game had to do with poor distribution and poor distributions decisions on the ball on his part and on the part of Partey. And so he has a lot to improve. He has to understand how once the game becomes tense, you can't just keep booting the ball, especially if you're not fielding any tall players to compete effectively for the ball in the air. So I think I like a lot of things that he's doing. Some of the saves he made were visually good to see, but they were in zones I would expect him to make those saves. Like to be able to stop an attempt, reset, and very fast and stop the second attempt. That's what everybody trains goalkeepers to do. That's like the first thing you like learn. So for me, I like him. I like his attitude, his personality. I like his maturity. I like how serious he is about his game. We brought him from Brentford because we actually brought the Brentford goalkeeping coach, and they speak very highly of him, and he has lived up to that. But I'm not like I don't know. I feel like we need to upgrade on him. Like we're talking about Garcia a lot from La Liga, and I think we're talking about him for a reason. Personally, I think his size is not necessarily the best when you start talking to like shot stopping where placement is good, and when you start talking about penalties, when you start talking about those kind of things where his just size just doesn't like he couldn't handle who was done was in the center who was getting those free headers like
Yes, Burn.
Burn, yeah, and like free headers, like you just need to command. There's still some things that like he's not perfect, but I like him, and I think he's a step up on Aaron Ramsdale, and I also think he's a step up on Leno. If that's a final vision of what our goalkeeping should look like, I'm not so convinced. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. I
Interesting.
won't. I won't change goalkeeper right now. I think Arsenal needs a strong starting 11, and in the goalkeeping department is rock solid. So they just need more work in the front, man. All the Strossard and Martinelli, they need to figure that out. It's they can't be consistent. Even Odegaard, I like his style, but this season I just feel like he's kind of operating from the shadow, man. Um, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think how you mentioned you don't really see a lot, but from an outsider, you need a consistent striker. If you wanna take advantage of the ball that Saka is putting in, even the ball that Odegaard is putting in, you need a striker that is sharp. The midfield can also help. I think one of the things that you mentioned maybe a little bit as negative for Raya, but it also helped you guys this season is him kicking the ball forward. Actually, to me, I think it helped, given that you guys don't have a I won't say playmaker. You don't have when Partey is not playing. There's no really the guy that in my own opinion, that can take the ball from the back, get it to the midfield, and ultimately, give Saka opportunity to give us a good pass. So that saves a lot of time. Him just kicking in, and for what is what, you guys are getting the ball, you're recovering the ball, and Martinelli is also giving his best in that aspect. But I think when you guys have a rock solid striker, Avert is back now. I think having a good midfield will help as well.
These are great comments. Amigos, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts about that game between Arsenal versus Newcastle. Of course, Arsenal winning that game 1-0 at the Emirates. To wrap up, of course, we have. Yes, so congratulations to Liverpool for winning the Premier League title for the year 24 to 25. I think it's a huge milestone, especially with the change in coach coming in from Jurgen Klopp to Arne Slot, and still using that same team with maybe one or two transfer players in Chiesa. They still won the Premier League, and huge kudos to him. I'll give him his accolades. I'll give him his props. I think Liverpool played some wonderful football this year, and I congratulate you all. I think you absolutely deserve it. Do you think this same Liverpool, especially with the changes that's about to happen, with Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving, Conor Bradley signing a new 5-year contract, Van Dijk staying for another 3 years, Salah staying for another 2 to 3 years. Do you feel like this team, without any inclusions, can still do the same thing they can? Or do you feel, Sam, that there needs to be some inclusions? And do they even need to tweak their style of play at all, or stick or stay the way it is? And of course, the biggest thing is Allison leaving? That's another question I have that I don't know. That of course, I myself and Amigos would love to hear about. So Sam, take it away.
Absolutely. I think first of all, I don't think we can play the same style and go further this time, to be honest, because every other team, I really hope they will be improving. We just talked about Arsenal getting the forward in, uh, even Newcastle. Everybody's up and ready to play even more, uh, play a better game this season, next season. I would think. Um, yes, Allison is still with 50-50, but I'm not worried about our goalkeeping department. I think we can always groom, and Keller is a rock solid goalkeeper. We do have a replacement coming up for Trent, so I'm excited. Frimpong is coming, so
I saw that. I'm so
yeah,
jealous.
we hope that comes and turns out well. But in terms of style, I think something has to change. I don't know what would need to change. I like the role that Ryan Gravenberch is playing, but I also would like to. I would like to probably push him out a little bit more. The reason being is towards the end of this season, in the last three games, he's played out forward, he's pushed out forward, and I'm seeing him just. What I'm seeing is McAllister, Sabuslai, just having the opportunity to go forward. So we might have to start overloading the attack, honestly, especially if we don't have a replacement for Darwin Nunes, if we don't have a replacement for number nine. So that's the only thing that I can see now. So let Ryan Gravenberch push a little bit more to the midfield. McAllister push harder. That means Salah also goes forward a little bit, or even sometimes pull back. I'm just thinking of things because we can't play the same thing that we played this season. Next season we have to change because here's what's going to happen. Ryan Gravenberch is going to get overloaded. It will lose the ball, and guess what? The defense is in trouble. So in terms of defense, I also think Gomez, um, Kanate, and we can start having some substitution going just in case Van Dijk drops injured or whatnot. We're not falling apart like other teams because most other teams in this season, other teams that couldn't meet up with Liverpool, it wasn't because they weren't impressive. It's just injuries, man. Top 11 getting knocked an injury and it just teams just fall apart. So I don't want to see that happen to us as a Liverpool. But uh, I'm excited with what we have. We have one more game coming up. We'll do the parade and we'll do preseason. But it's gonna be a good preseason. I really hope we get a striker. It seems like every team needs a striker right now.
So
Yeah.
true. So true. Ayo, your thoughts on this? Do we need to start talking about a succession plan for Van Dijk and Salah, or do you think they are still players that are not just important to Liverpool, but not time to start talking about succession planning?
Okay. Before Liverpool before he dipped in form, over 75% of all chances and goals created and scored for Liverpool was coming from Mo Salah. When Van Dijk is not in the centre back pairing, they seem a lot more shaky and less secure. I think that level of reliance has to be dialed down. I think they need to have a game model that provides a high quality of output without if Van Dijk is missing and if Salah is missing. Because you can see as the amount of games started to wear on Salah, you can see his form drop and his production level and his concentration and his effectiveness drop. Van Dijk has made uncharacteristic errors, especially towards the end of this season, like not tracking players, reacting poorly when a breakthrough happens, and you can just tell like these are things that go with age, and so they have to have a player in that defense that this is the rock that we're going to build on. Once Van Dijk goes down, the king is dead. All hail the king. In terms of offensive play, you need to have that talent that this is where we're going. Like you think of a Barcelona and you think Lamine Yamal, for example, right? Even though you have Rafinha, who is on an absolute blinder in terms of goals and chances created today, uh, chances created and goals scored. Even though you have Lewandowski, who is having a wonderful season, even given the injuries he's had, his goal output. I think it's 25 goals in the Premier League, almost over 30 goals. Sorry, in the La Liga, over 30 goals scored in all competitions. But Lamil Yamal is still there, and Yamal is the future of their offense. So with Liverpool, it's not clear who that is. Like you start thinking about players like Elliott, you start thinking, and you're not so sure his physicality. He can handle the physicality of the Premier League. You start talking about Jota, the physicality thing becomes an issue, and he's getting older. The only person I can think of is Diaz, and Diaz hasn't shown that level of ruthlessness in terms of how he converts opportunities. That makes you think that he's a good uh, player to hand off that responsibility in the offense. And so they have to recruit those two players. They have to recruit like Hato is a player they talked about a lot. The defender, like, is that going to be the cornerstone of what we're building? Because I'm not really sure. That's either Konate or Joe. I think they live and die on the quality of who's playing beside them. And then offensively, they need to find that player where they don't have to be ready next season, but they have to be the roadmap moving forward. And so they have a lot to figure out in terms of recruiting, and they have to actually make those signings, and they have to be very intentional. And that's the session is because we want Mo Salah is probably going to be good for maybe 80% of the games that he was this season. Van Dijk's the same, and next season, the season after that, even less. They got to figure out who the next talisman is going to be.
No, I totally agree. Anything to add to that, Sam, based on what I just said?
No, 100%. I agree with him for sure.
Awesome. Amigos, of course, you've heard our amigos speak. We would love to hear you speak as well. Like, share, and subscribe. Put your comments down below. Let us know your thoughts about some of these different teams and some of the plans they have for the transfer window into next season. And of course, to our Liverpool amigos, congratulations once again for winning the title. Well deserved, of course. and we'll see if you can do it again next season. On that note, amigos, stay positive. We will talk to you all soon. See you in the next content. See you guys.
Yeah,
Take care.
bye.